Hey moviegoers, in this video you'll find out why the new The X-Files doesn't inspire confidence and what Clint Eastwood's last film will be about. Ready? Then we start. The legendary Clint Eastwood is gearing up to shoot his final film. According to journalists, it will be a car thriller called Juror Number 2. The director will also write the script. The plot will revolve around a young man who, during the trial, realizes that the blame for the death of a person hangs not on the accused, but on himself. He is faced with a choice: confess to a crime or lead other jurors on the wrong way. In the main role, Eastwood sees a certain rising star whose name hasn't yet been revealed. At the end of May, the Oscar-winning director will turn 93 years old. Despite his considerable age, he isn't gonna to leave the cinema. Also, Juror Number 2 will be his last directorial effort. Eastwood is still committed to writing the script and possibly producing the pictures. Everyone would like such efficiency. I recall, however, that his previous film, the drama Cry Macho, failed at the box office, and the new boss of the Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, harshly counted out his subordinates for spending money on the project at all. But probably in order to part with the great actor and director on a good note, he will still be allocated a budget for one last tape. And that's good. We continue to see how mega corporations are trying to save even more money. This time, Netflix took decisive action. He is preparing to restructure his film division, for which he has already fired a couple of big shots. Vice President John Brick, who has worked for 10 years, and Lisa Nishimura, who worked at the company for 15 years and was responsible for documentaries and low-budget films. This is reportedly all part of Netflix's new policy of quality over quantity. The platform will now release fewer future films, hoping that this will allow each release to get a little more attention. Well, it's understandable that in the past year alone, the stream service has released as many as 86 films, most of which have gone unnoticed, but in the schedule of 2023, only 49 projects are listed. That is almost 2 times less. Let's see how many of them will be heard. It doesn't get any easier from time to time. The famous producer and screenwriter Chris Carter announced that a reboot of his main brainchild, The X-Files, is in development. So far, only 2 facts are known. The first is that the director of Creed and Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, can take up the project. True, it isn't yet clear in what status, showrunner, producer or guest director. Well, and the second, according to Carter, the show will meet modern standards. What this wording means in this particular case is a guess, but usually it means an inclusive cast and a script with subtext. Whether Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny will return to their roles is not reported, but I believe this is unlikely. I recall that the last season with the participation of Scully and Mulder was released in 2018 and received rather mixed ratings from critics and viewers. Quiet news about the It horror prequel series, Welcome to Derry. HBO Max announced it exactly a year ago, and since then there has been no news about the project. And the other day Bill Skarsgård said in an interview that he had nothing to do with the show. That is, the clone Pennywise will either not be in the series at all, or someone else will play him. None of these options inspires optimism. Indeed, in fact, Skarsgård is the main star of it, and starting something without him is quite risky. Fuel to the fire is added by the statement of the actor a year ago. Then he said that he was ready to once again play in the role of a sinister clown if he was offered a worthy script. Very similar to Henry Cavill's statement about The Witcher, and very opaque hints at problems with this very scenario. Whatever the case, Welcome to Derry is still in pre-production. We are waiting for details. The network has a trailer for a new film by Wes Anderson called Asteroid City. This time the famous director wanted to play with the style of old-fashioned science fiction. The action takes place in the 50s, in the small town in the middle of the desert, where aliens suddenly decided to visit. Judging by the trailer, all the director's chips are in place. Shots verified by a ruler, a recognizable pastel palette, humor and a stellar cast. The premiere is set for June 16th. On the same day, a new Pixar cartoon called Elemental will be released, and as it was joked in the comments, this is the first feature film of the studio, the script of which was written by Neural Network. The plot seems so hackneyed. This is actually the same Zootopia, only instead of animals are the elements and instead of a detective story is a romantic comedy. But the morality about the dangers of prejudice and the need for mutual understanding hasn't gone away. Just in case, I recall that a chic French cartoon on the same topic called The Rain Children was released on the screens already 20 years ago. The creator of Samurai Jack, Jandy Tarkovsky, presented his new creation, the animated series Unicorn Warriors Eternal. The famous animator had been nurturing the idea for years. Unlike the brutal Primal, this show is more focused on the young audience. In the center of the plot are the souls of three powerful fighters, who reincarnated in the bodies of teenagers and lost control of their superpowers. And a great evil is already on the way. So, it is necessary to curb magical gifts as soon as possible. The series starts on May 4th. Nick Fury unravels a global conspiracy in Secret Invasion trailer. In fact, this is the first and probably the last solo album of the character performed by Samuel L. Jackson, and the most suitable genre was chosen for him, a conspiracy thriller. The opponents of the former super spy will be the insidious Skrulls, and the action will unfold in different parts of the world, including even Moscow. Premiere June 21st. The third part of Creed slipped to the fifth line of the American film distribution with $5 million. The sixth Scream earned $300,000 more. The micro-budget Bible drama His Only Son debuted at number 3 with $5.5 million. The tape has already covered its cost 22 times. John Wick Chapter 4 falls to second place, dragging $28,200,000 with it. Well, the new leader is the comedy adventure fantasy Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. The film adaptation of the biggest role-playing game in history managed to earn $38.5 million domestic gross and slightly less worldwide. Ten years ago, one of the rare successful remakes of Evil Dead was released. Talk about the resurrection of the cult franchise began at the end of 2000s, when Sam Raimi finally said goodbye to Spider-Man. The fans continued to demand the fourth part, but the producers understood that the 15-year break was not in vain and the general public was no longer familiar with the Evil Dead, and so it was decided to take on a remake. The production was entrusted to the talented Uruguayan director and special effects specialist Fede Alvarez, who also wrote the script. He wanted to return the series to its roots. Brutal horror with occasional black humor. Including for this, computer graphics were used to a minimum, focusing on makeup, artificial blood, and tricks that Alvarez, according to him, spied on in the Manual for Illusionists. The result not only justified but also exceeded the expectation of fans. While film critics turned their noses away and held back the urge to vomit from the abundance of teen special horror sites, showered the new Evil Dead with the highest scores and awards. The film grossed just under $100 million on a budget of $17 million. It would have collected more, but some countries simply refused to release the tape in wide distribution. It seemed too bloody to the censors, but it was thanks to the remake that we got an excellent Ash vs. Evil Dead series and a good game. And very soon we will get the film Evil Dead Rise, which has already managed to earn generous praise at festivals. There is something to look forward to. That's all for this week. Smash thumbs up, write comments and watch only the best.